All right. What's up? Good evening. How are you doing, Mark?
I am great, Brother Davis. How are you?
I am good. I am good. Thank you so much for being here. For everybody tuning in, this is another VPSA chat live. We're here with Vice President of Membership and Expansion, Mark Renault. He hails from the Zeta Epsilon chapter at Michigan State University. Go Green.
Go white.
Um, and I'm really excited to have him here because if you attended our district conventions, the thing that we talked about was upcoming resources and future Crown Pearl goals, specifically around chapter growth and reflection. And the champion of that is our VPME, Mark Renault. And I wanted to bring him on to discuss it so that way we can keep this momentum from convention going and turn it into some action coming up. So, a thing to note before we start diving into it is that this conversation isn't just for chapters that are struggling. This conversation is for everybody. I mean, it can really impact you beyond chapter as well. So whether you're rebuilding, maintaining, or just trying to push that next level, I know that this stuff is going to be very helpful for you. So, you ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
All right. So, my first question has to do with why. Like, why this? What made you feel like chapters needed a reflection form and a growth plan? Well, yeah.
Yeah, I just think like greatness doesn't come accidentally, right? Like I think it's really important that we're intentional with the plans we make. We are purposeful in our planning. We're purposeful in what we do. Accidents can happen and you can have momentary successes, but I think to really make sure that things are set up for longevity and for building a positive culture, for making sure that we are always perpetuating and right striving for the highest, right? I think it's really important that we just take that time to be intentional, take that time to talk with our brothers and think about what we can do, where our strengths, weaknesses, what can we do better, and really just make sure that we are living that motto, and we are being open and honest with those brothers that serve with us at our band programs.
Yeah, that transparency point is really important. Like, hey, this we've done everything, and let's be honest with ourselves. Um,
It's also really hard.
yeah, it sure is. Yeah, looking in the mirror is it's something because it, the mirror doesn't lie. It's like this is what's actually going on.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
so, what is something that you feel like chapters might miss if they're not being intentional and not, reflecting and setting plans?
Yeah, I think honestly, one of the biggest traps is just kind of being comfortable
Mm.
and being in routines, right? When you think about when it's the right time to make a change, stagnation, this state of stasis, right, is where we're very comfortable and we're like, we don't need to change because everything's going, everything's smooth. But
Mm.
that also means you're plateauing. And
Mm.
so I think that is a threat in a way to us. The "oh, we've always done it that way" phrase, or "yeah, that's just something we do." You know, I think those can be pitfalls of progress and growth. Not, sure people have great service projects that their chapters have been doing for years and years and years, and they are cornerstones of what the band program needs. Um, but there's also maybe other new things that we need to innovate, create, reflect on, change, because our college band programs are changing, the college landscape is changing, um, programs are growing, shrinking, funds are going every different way, right? And so I think it's important for us to be responsive to those times,
Mm.
and not be stuck in a fixed mindset. And so some of this comes from just that growth mindset. I think is really important. As an educator, it's what I try to instill in my staff, students, people I work with. But I think it's really important to make sure that we're going through those things and not becoming comfortable. I think that's the enemy of progress.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you mentioning that you're an educator because that's a really good segue into my next thing. I'm also an educator. I guess,
Yep.
colleagues in that way. But I think specifically, like you work as a principal, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So what I know from my principal at my school is that he's always pushing like teacher evals and reflection, not in a way of like a punitive way, but like he and our instructional coaches are like, let's sit down and talk and be real about what's going on and how we can improve. In fact, I just met with my instructional coaches this last week, and I'm sure that that's a part of your regular life too. And the reason I know that is because we're friends and we've talked about it.
Yeah.
So, how has your experience as a principal in that realm helped shape these resources or the need for them?
Yeah, I think, being an educator is one of the reasons I find a lot of value in this. I think, there's people who are managers, and then there's principals who are great at managing. And then I challenge myself to be an instructional leader. So yes, I want to manage the things, but I also want to be someone that can have coaching conversations, have reflective conversations, make sure that we're growing, right? An evaluation tool should not be a checkbox for me,
Mm.
right? It's not I come into your class and I'm like, hey, Mr. Davis, you're doing a great job. Keep it up. High five. Maybe it did go well. What can you do better? What did you learn about your students in every lesson, right? You should learn something about the students. From every service project, you should learn something about the brothers in your chapter. What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? Hey, I didn't know this brother was going to be good at this. Hey, they did a really great job making and making sure that we had a bunch of people show up to this service event. Or hey, this person's really passionate about this thing. What are we learning about our brothers after every service event, after every project? Um, and so looking for those things is something I think is really powerful. You know, if you just do a lesson or you just do a service project and you're like, oh, on to the next thing,
Mm.
right? Um, there's no growth, there's no reflection. Did it actually meet the need that it was intended to, right? And so I think that it's really important that we be honest with ourselves. Um, and again, I know I said it earlier, but challenge that comfortability. We think we're being great. We think that we're doing a great job, but are we great or are we just comfortable?
Mm.
And so um, it's not easy to have reflective conversations. Um, it's not easy to do it. My first year in the building, I'm trying to develop trust, rapport, relationships with teachers in my building. Um, and so it's hard for people to come and be like, yeah, here's my weakness, new boss, right?
Yeah.
And that's hard to go to your sponsor and you'll be like, yeah, we here's our weakness. Here's what we're not good at. Because no one wants to admit their flaws. But I think it's what allows us to be better.
Mm.
And showing those weaknesses, it allows us to ask for help. We are helping people by nature, by what we do in this organization. And so I think it is a really powerful thing. It's something that drives me daily as an educator as well. And I would say we've been talking in our leadership team at our school, like, do we plan agendas or do we plan a lesson?
Mm.
Do I plan tasks to accomplish or do I have this overarching picture of a lesson design sequence of where we're going to go? What should I be doing? What should this student be doing? What are these people, right? And
Hmm.
making sure there's a whole arc and then stringing those together to go from point A to point B. It's not just about surviving that service project.
Right.
You want to survive the service project, but is this service project hitting these things that we want to make sure that we're giving back to our band program? Does it align with the values and the needs of the people that we're serving? Or did we miss the mark on something? So,
Yeah. Now, do you feel like your school has started to embrace that culture of reflection?
yeah, we've had some structural changes.
Mm.
Like we've added some PLC time, some more intentional time for teachers to collaborate. Um, and we refer to it kind of some as deprivatizing the classroom. Like
Mm.
you, yes, you want to control your space, and yes, you want to control your four walls of your classroom, right? But we are not all knowing. So there's this belief of collective efficacy,
Mm.
in that we can make a difference and we can learn from one another. And while I may not have all the tools, together as a group, we have all the tools and we can learn from each other and lean on each other. So, me as a chapter member, right, I may not be the best with finances,
Mm.
but we may have a brother who is great at finances. right? I may be a super big extrovert and I will talk to anybody and get them to show up to something,
Mm.
but don't ask me to make a budget, right?
Yeah.
And so how do we capitalize on those things and realize that the knowledge and power is there in the room? We just have to make sure we're allocating our resources in the right way.
Yeah. Um, yeah, like me personally, sometimes like I find myself as an idea guy and it's like, all right, yeah, here's an idea, and like somebody please help me with this. And the other times it's like, give me an idea and I'll help you with those steps. And it's kind of like what your strengths are.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it changes,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you're over a band program, right?
Right.
Um, as a teacher, as an assistant principal, I was a master of checklists. Like I would get all my stuff done. I would have my like marching orders of what needed to be done. Hey, state testing's coming up. Here's how we're going to run it. Or hey, scheduling has to be done. Here's how I'm going to run it. Here's what I need from people. Let's knock it out. But as a principal, it's different. Like yes, I have things and tasks I need to get done, but it is also my job to help facilitate conversations surrounding the vision, the direction, um, our non-negotiables, the things that are going to guide our culture and set that tone. So um, it's not for everybody, and some people are really good at being behind the scenes and doing the things, and some people are like, no, I want to make the picture. I have an eye vision for it, but you're a better artist than me. Can you do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so I think that sometimes it changes, and I think that we have to learn that about ourselves, and I think that that's something that we have to be okay with. Not everyone wants to be the B idea guy. Not everyone wants to be at the front of the stage. Not everyone wants to be in those spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. That doesn't mean you're not a leader. It doesn't mean you're not a great brother. It doesn't mean you don't have something to offer to our chapter and our organization. Um, and, I was on a call last night with a bunch of people who serve as Brendan advocates. I, yeah, we had new chapters come into our organization this semester and last semester, and my name gets attached to it. But if I don't have those people to lean on and those
Mm-hmm.
people who can, grind out that work, we're not making progress without them. And so you got to thank those people along the way as well, and realize it's a team effort. So
Yeah.
I might have got a little off track there, but
No, it's fine.
I
I
was
mean,
just going with it.
that's what we do. uh, so I'm wondering, like, as it comes to this, like, as we're thinking growth reflection, whichever side it is, like,
Yeah.
who all should be involved in that process? Should it be like president driven? Should it be, VPM, VPS driven? Like,
Yeah. It's got to be everybody to me. It's got to be everybody.
mm,
If you set a direction with a third of the chapter, is that really the direction?
mm,
Right? You're missing voices, you're missing perspectives. You may have your own biases based on your experience. Maybe your officers all come from the marching band, and you have members who aren't in the marching band, so you miss those perspectives if you cut out those people. Um, are you including your new members who just went through your process, your newest, freshest eyes on the organization, the people who have are the least likely to say, "Hey, that we do that because we've always done it," right? They're most likely to be like, so why? It
mm-hmm,
doesn't make sense to me, right? And I think if we're limiting the people in the room, I think it makes it, less true of where the current status of the chapter really is. Um, but getting people in the room isn't the end all be all, right? Like you could have people in the room, but if you don't create an environment, if you don't model as the president and as the leaders of the chapter that you know your members have voted and entrusted with you with that responsibility, if you don't model by saying, hey, this is where I've messed up, this is where I need to be better, like if you don't model that and demonstrate it being a brave space where we can have tough conversations, it doesn't matter who's in the room, right? Because you're never going to get where you need to go if there's topics that are untouchable or can't be
right,
discussed, right? Um, so it is definitely a mindset that needs to be created throughout the chapter, and everyone needs to buy into it and understand that. At the end of the day, when we're having these conversations, like, yeah, I'm the VPM of my chapter, and so I oversaw our road to wisdom process and our membership candidate process, right? But at the end of the day, I'm doing that on behalf of the chapter. So if there
Hmm.
was something that was missed, if there was something that could be better, then we need to talk about it. And it's hard to not take that personally because my name's attached to it, right?
Right.
But at the same time, if we take those things personally, we're stagnating growth, we're stagnating real conversation, and not allowing for um, things to flourish as they may, or as hopefully they would, with feedback. And that is probably the hardest thing about this, is that we need chapters to be able to be really honest with each other, and not take things personally. And it's going to be hardest for the officers. So, do we use anonymous forms to help break some of those barriers? Um, what can we do to make sure that there isn't backlash, feedback, negativity that's hostility or any of those feelings? But at the end of the day, we are brothers. We should treat each other as brothers without reservation, love each other, respect each other, and be able to lean into those tough conversations. We've had them before as an organization. We're going to have them again next year when it talks, at NatCon with ritual revisions. That's going to be a spicy topic. We're going to have to lean into those spaces and make sure that we hear people, make sure that we're listening to different perspectives, and then make the best choice we can moving forward.
Yeah. It, like I was meeting with my leaders today. Um,
Yeah.
I just closed out my YouTube thing. Hopefully, we're still streaming. Let me find out. That'd be really awkward if we weren't anymore. No, yeah, we're still going. All right, cool. uh, I was meeting with my leaders today. We had a leadership meeting at school, and it's the end of the school year, and we're getting ready for
Mm-hmm.
next season. So this is our first time meeting, and it's kind of like setting the tone and picking their brain and seeing where they are. And I noticed as we were talking that like it's kind of like the same few kids that are speaking each time, and uh, I asked myself as that's going on, like, what can I do to get other people to speak up, and because it can be uncomfortable, especially if this is your first season as a leader and it's your first time being in the room, and you kind of don't want to say anything wrong or like get called out for anything, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. And so I don't know. I feel like I'm always thinking of how can I motivate more people to share, especially even like sharing in front of other people. I feel like there's a lot of value in that. It's tough, but
Was for sure tough.
yeah.
And but when you can create those things, right? When you can create those opportunities for you, like for student voice,
Hmm.
right? Um, it's amazing. So our school, we're going through this National Institute for System Leadership, School and System Leadership, NISL. It's through the NCE, National Center on Education and the Economy, and our building leaders are going through that, teachers, administrators, and we have to do these like homework assignments where we go out and ask teachers questions or students questions. And so we had a couple student panels where we had them just kind of open up, recorded what they were talking about, or took notes on what they were talking about. Of what's your favorite thing about your classes, and what's your least favorite things. Which classes are you most engaged in? You know, and once those gates open and they realize, oh hey, they're listening to us,
Mm.
right? We got a lot of information we needed to have some tough conversations about what is connecting with our students and what isn't. Where are we missing the mark and where are we doing a good job? And that's hard to do, right?
Yeah.
And it can be hard to take. I've been teaching English for 15 years or whatever, and you're going to this eighth grader is going to tell me what I need to do better.
Right.
Well,
Yeah, they
we have
probably
to be
are.
we have to be responsive to the people we're serving, right?
Hmm.
Um, the band program 15 years ago is not the band program you're serving today. You
Right.
have to be responsive to the people who are currently there and the needs that are currently there. So I think that's a really good point, and it's awesome that you empower your leaders to do that, um, because that's what we need to teach people. And so hopefully we can, um, have those conversations and try to model that even as a national council and a national leadership team, right?
Hmm.
How do we allow and create space for feedback and tough feedback?
Right.
I would
Absolutely.
much rather take tough feedback though than praise. I don't know, that's just who I am.
Yeah.
Like I have enough people who say, good job, Mark. I need you to tell me how I could be better. Good job, Mark doesn't make me a better VPME or a better principal.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I part of the reason why I even closed the tab on accident was because I was looking up something which I haven't done in a live stream before. So there's a first time for everything. Um, but there's this like set of rules that I learned about whenever you're having conflict, and it's called the fair fight rules.
Hmm.
And I really like it because it's kind of like, hey, like talk about one thing at a time, no yelling, no degrading languages, blah blah all that stuff. But specifically, like in relationship stuff, which I guess conflict is always in some sort of
Mm-hmm.
relationship, right?
Yeah.
It's like one of the things is you have to always remember like before and afterwards, like you're a team. Um, and I wonder if kind of opening the space with that of like, hey, we're going to be vulnerable. We're going to be sharing things about ourselves, about our chapter that we might not like, but we think could be different. And at the end of the day, like we're all brothers. We all want the same thing, and like let's have an open and honest conversation about it. I wonder if that might be helpful to somebody, you know?
And I mean, I don't know where your next question is, but I'd love like timing of this form is I think is really important.
Hmm.
Um, can I go there, or do you
Yeah,
want to?
you.
Okay, so so like when you think about the timing of it, and I know the Crown Pearl goals sequencing of them, not everything's out yet, and I'm going to say something like I would do this now. My podium article was about doing this now, um, and so, but I think in an ideal world, I would love a chapter to do the reflection form. I don't know, a couple weeks before officer packets are due, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we can come together as a chapter, let's say in March, and we say, all right, how's this year gone? What are strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats? Do a SWOT analysis, do a root cause analysis of where we're missing the mark on things. You know, hey, our recruitment events didn't hit all the pillars. We're having these conversations and we're pointing out some of these things. One, talk about the process, not the people who did it, right? Because
Right.
it should be
Mm-hmm.
a chapter process. Everyone should be bought into what we're doing.
Yeah.
Um,
Separate
but
like the people from the actions.
yeah, right. But then it also allows the people who are going to run for VPME to be responsive to the chapter,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or the president or whatever, secretary, right? So if you have this conversation before your officer packets are due, right? It allows people to craft their goals for office, their plans for office with the chapter feedback in mind. If you elect a bunch of officers and they're like, hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z, you have a chapter meeting and you're like, hey, we need to work on one, two, and three. They're like, well, why'd you vote for me for VPME, right? Like,
Yeah.
why am I the president? Because that's not the way I thought we were going, right?
Right.
So I think it's really important that in a perfect world, I think those reflective conversations happen before you talk about officer elections. And then it gives the officers the chance to, again, hear the chapter, make a plan, run on those ideas, and hopefully that makes the chapter feel heard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it gives them buy-in to what's going on. Hey, I helped set the direction of the chapter, right? Like, yes, I trust JP to be president, but he heard some of the comments we were saying. He heard the things that we want to work on as a group. Um, and then you go into your summer and you're like, okay, now that we've heard the chapter, now that we kind of have a vision, okay, now it's the growth, like now it's the growth plan. What are we going to dig into? What are our goals? What tasks are going to be assigned? What's our sequencing for the year? And getting that done and out before we get into mid to late August and we hit band camp. Because if you get to band camp and you haven't made a plan,
It's too late.
you are 100%, you're too late and you're in survival mode. You're like, I just want to survive the 12-hour days,
Mm-hmm.
get a couple hours of sleep, and do it all over again for a week, right? Like there's going to be no late night planning sessions, no what are new ways we can help during band camp week. It's going to be we're going to do what we've always done because it's easy and comfortable,
Yeah.
and we're going to survive this week. And then it's classes and games and weekends. And next thing you know, it's what? Thanksgiving by the time you're done.
Mm.
And you're like, oh, well, I'm glad we have elections in 4 months and the first 8 months of our officer time is over, right? Like
Yeah. And then you're
you're,
scrambling to like get stuff done, and
yeah, you're
it's
2/3
chaotic.
done and you're like, oh, we have new members that we got to deal with membership candidates and, we got to get this report in and winter break. And next thing you know, it's game, set, and match, So I think being intentional about the timing and the pacing of what that looks like is really, really important for chapters. And it will take a year to get
Yeah.
people used to it, right? Like it's the timing isn't perfect because these Crown Pearl goals will start after we get through, June and our month of celebration and celebrating all the people who have earned their Crown Pearl chapter status for this year. Excited for that. But yeah, I think the timing of it's really important, so that it allows for things to be actionable.
Yes. Yeah. I want to like be sure, and this is me kind of talking, breaking the fourth wall. Like, I hope that people aren't hearing, um, like, oh, if we do this reflection before packets are due for elections, then that means somebody's essentially just going to be, creating a packet that checks all these boxes and everything.
Yeah.
I think people should definitely trust that their chapter will be able to see through like people that do that, and also, I mean, people shouldn't do that, but I would trust that the chapter would be able to make the decision that's ultimately going to be best for the chapter and understand like, okay,
Well,
this person's actually like paying attention and going to do
oh yeah,
stuff.
no. And I'm so glad you brought that up because I do think it is important. And the timing doesn't have to be perfect. The most important thing is to start the process.
Hmm.
The most important thing is to have the conversation. And people may have heard me say that and be like, actually, I think it'd be better at this time of year. If you think it's going to work for your chapter, great. The point is, have the conversations, be
Hmm.
reflective, be intentional in the decisions you're making. If I walk up to you and I say, hey, why are you doing this? And your answer is, we've always done it, that's wrong. The only wrong answer in that situation,
Yeah.
right? Hey, we're doing this because this helps with these other things. This is a pillar of our band program. It's going to give our memberships. Oh, great. There's a reason behind it. But I think sometimes we fall into this trap of just, oh, it's what we do.
Yeah. It now kind of similarly, like we've talked about this on a grand cycle, kind of like, each year or semester even. But I mean, could you argue that people could do this even like just, hey, we did this project, let's talk about it, see what's up.
Yeah, you could definitely do it and break it down into smaller cycles throughout the year, right? Um, and th- definitely when you are voting on, new members,
Mm.
and you've done your recruitment activities. Hey guys, why aren't we getting X, Y, and Z person out? We really thought they'd be a good brother. Have that
Hmm.
conversation,
Yeah.
right? Um, check your biases. This is the 6 straight years where we only got woodwind people to come out, right? What we can't break into the brass family or whatever the problem is, right? Absolutely have those moments. I think it's healthy to have those discussions in that moment and keep those things as keep tabs on those things. But again, it's just taking time to be intentional. Then you get to the end of the year and you already have a list. Okay, hey, next year we got to plan better for, you know, how do we diversify our recruitment strategies? Hey, we fell short on our fundraising goal. What else can we do? Like you already have notes, and then your reflection is almost starting your growth plan at the end, right?
Hmm.
Um, which is, I think, really the critical thing for it to have happened. Ideally, those things would be done. Sometimes it's hard to reflect and then go right into a growth plan.
Hmm.
Sometimes they do streamline a little more, but making it work for your chapter and your situation is always when we need to be. And Dr. Rohr, Dr. Brother President, as I call him, always says like when we're working on things, he's like, this is version 1.0, right? We're not going to have it perfect. It's not going to be perfect. um, and that's okay. But that's what we want. But it's we're doing something to try to get the conversation started, right? So this is our attempt to model and do that same thing. We're not saying this is perfect. The first form's not going to be perfect. I hope people have feedback for me and hey, have you thought about adding this question or this topic or why isn't this on there? Those things are things we need because again, this form is going to, come from us, but we also have our own biases and perspectives and insights, right? We need other people to check us on those and make sure that what we are doing is the best we can for this organization because that's what we owe it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And if we're not having those conversations like together, then it kind of just becomes grumbling on the side, and then resentment builds, and then we're just complaining about something but not ever doing anything, and that sucks.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean the flip side of it, right, is that or it's the flip side is if you're just in an echo chamber
Hmm.
and you just kind of keep hearing the same people like, oh yeah, we're doing great at this and great at this. Like, please, somebody just put on the devil's advocate hat. I know, again, I know we've done that on our council calls before. Like, hey, we'll even say like, I think this plan's right, but have we thought about like
Right.
and throw out this other topic
Yeah.
just so that we can check ourselves against what are those things that we might not be thinking of, or you soft launch something and you're like, hey, person who hasn't been in the weeds helping us create this. If I say this, what do you think? Right.
Hmm.
And we have to do those things. So yeah, chapters should go out there and, we want to create inclusive, open environments, inclusive environments where everyone can speak up and share the direction of the chapter. But, in the middle of the MC process, one of my favorite questions as governor, I would do one-on-ones with chapters, right? My favorite question when we did them in the spring, if there was an active membership class, I would look at them and be like, if you were to list what you think are the most important values of this chapter based on your recruitment and experiences thus far, what would you say they are?
Mm, it's telling.
And then I'd look at the chapter and it'd be like, are those your top values? And sometimes they'd be like, yes, we did it. And sometimes they'd be like, no. I was like, so then we'd have a conversation. Well, MCs, why did you think that? Right.
Hmm.
Well, hey, they did this, they did. And, we were talking with one chapter and they talked so much about how they valued musicianship. And the MCs didn't list that as one of the top values
Oh
because
wow.
none of the recruitment stuff had music in it.
Mm,
They're like, oh, we just thought it was service because your 4 events were all service events. And the
yeah.
chapter was like, fair, right? Like,
Yeah.
I get how you drew that connection, A to
Yeah.
B to B to C,
Mm.
right? So I think those are important things to do and important conversations to have, um, and talk to people outside your chapter too.
Yeah.
Hey, how can we serve? I'm not. It's not even a recruitment strategy. Just straight up like, hey, you're in the music program. What can we do to help make your life better?
Hmm.
Talk to your DOB and sponsor. I'm sure they have a list of things they wish were different, right?
Yeah, as a band director, yeah, I have a big old list.
And I didn't mention them. Bring your DOB and sponsor into those conversations too.
Mm,
When you're talking about a growth plan, talk with them.
hmm.
How do you guys see us better serving our band program? Right? I guarantee they have thought.
Yes, me too. Yeah, what I really appreciate through all this is that like it doesn't feel like there's any focus on like this is like on a chapter that's struggling, like great somewhere in between, but it really feels like this can be for everybody,
Yeah.
um, and it's just I mean for people who want to be intentional and people who want to grow, like that's what this is set up for.
And
Um,
some of our chapters are already doing it, and this is just a way to formalize it, right?
yeah,
Some of our chapters already have these conversations. This is just a way. I mean, we'll just document it and give you a crown pearl, point for it.
yeah. So
Uh,
I'm glad you said that. Like, what sort of examples do you see of reflection and growth from chapters that are already doing this?
I think there was a lot. I think the biggest one probably over, and again, um, yes, now sitting in a national council role, but a lot of my chapter experiences have come from an NC governor. So I still haven't been out the West. I still haven't been out the Midwest. Like I still am missing pockets. So there is still plenty for me to learn about all the great things that our chapters are doing. But when it comes to ways that this is done, um, and ways I've seen it work really well is with chapters challenging themselves to get outside of their comfort zone, um, be it with how they recruit, be it with how they serve. Um, and they can go, chapters who are willing to embrace that can go from a chapter that I viewed as they were functioning and surviving to they are a phenomenal example at the district and national level of what it means to be a brother and what it means to be a chapter of Kappa Kappa Psi, right? Um, so I've seen it change. I think the most tangible one I've seen is like pillars based recruitment
Mm,
and people really focusing on what message do our recruitment events send to our members, and are we getting the people we want to get from that membership recruitment class,
mm,
right? I think that's been a really easy. I think that's one that's hit the national stage for a while about how do we recruit people and being intentional about the planning of recruitment. Um, Again, you can recruit great people by accident. You can dumb luck into situations,
mm.
but to make it repeatable, you have to come up with a plan.
Yeah. The chapter that comes to my mind is Pi at Auburn.
Mm.
Got to shout them out, and Brittany Woodruff and all the work that she's done there, because uh,
She was on the call last night I was on.
yeah, and God, she's amazing. But they have their Pi Renaissance, and I remember like when I was an active, like Pi was huge in the Southeast District, and in fact one of our conventions was on their campus, and some of my like
Yeah.
closest friends that were brothers were Pi brothers, and I like stayed over at their house and everything. And then as a governor, it felt like Pi was there a little bit, but then maybe we would have one or two people from convention or there for a convention, or nobody would be there. And then recently, like, I mean, Pi's just shot up. I mean, the SED VPM is from Pi. The student keynote speaker is from
Yeah.
Pi. Like, just a phenomenal chapter, and so proud of the steps they've taken to have their renaissance.
And I think that's really that's a great point because we've all governor role, national leadership, whatever it is, you see that ebb and flow and that life cycle of chapters. You go up and down, right? But the chapters who can have and create, you may have someone who cares about these types of things, and you really get it as a part of your chapter for 2 to 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't stay in the culture. The chapters um, who've ingrained this in part of their culture and who they are is the ones that you see biennium after biennium after biennium. They've been a strong chapter now, and they have been since I was a student X number of years ago, right?
How many?
It's been a minute, brother Davis. I was initiated in the spring of '07, so we'll be 20 years this convention season.
Wow!
So
Congrats.
sure, we can go with congrats. We can go with old.
Or as the kids say, unk status.
I got called unk by a student yesterday. It was accurate. I mean, I did reference a student I had a while ago, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I forgot you were teaching that unk." I was like, "Dang,
That's amazing.
I cut deep."
Love that.
Yeah, you gotta have a little fun, right?
Yeah, you have to. Uh, so I feel like we've talked about so much great stuff, and
Mhm.
I really appreciate your time this evening. And so my final question for you is like, if somebody watching this only remembers like one thing, or they take one thing from this conversation, what is that for you?
Just start somewhere,
Mm,
right? This process, I'll steal this from Dr. Brother President Roar. Um, this is about progress, not perfection. I mean, he says that all the time, right?
hmm
And that's what I would want people to take. This is a step towards ensuring that we continue to make progress. It is not about perfection. It is not about you submitting this and me thinking, oh my gosh, this chapter only has 47 strengths and no weaknesses. They must be perfect, right? Just start the process, start to make progress, and you may go from great to even better, right? You may go from good to great. You may go from to good, right? Like
Hmm.
progress. I don't, no, none of us are perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. We have these conversations, right? Um, but this process is about progress. And if we can do one thing to make ourselves better, we can do one thing to make our band program better, if we can do one thing to make our chapter better, um, that's what I would want people to take away is that one thing to try to make it incrementally better, striving for the highest, always adding that building block and moving forward.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Mark, thank you so much for your time, and thank you
Thanks
for
for having
sharing.
me. This has been a blast. We should do this more often.
Yeah, we should hang, chat, talk. So for students that are watching, be on the lookout for the reflection and growth forms coming out in July, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Well,
We'll start with the growth form. Make sure that gets out first. So there's some tools and things out there to start thinking through and planning the beginning steps of the year. And then we'll make sure that reflection form is available shortly thereafter. Hopefully, definitely by the time we get into kind of end of semester when we start kind of reflecting on how things are going. Um, yeah.
yeah, and what we're talking about, I mean, this isn't unique to KKSI. It's just the document's going to be unique. So I mean, you can look up, like Mark was talking about, the SWOT analysis, SWOT. You can look up other reflection forms, opportunities, like the five whys is a thing I've been using more recently, and
I
start
love that one.
start somewhere. Um, but with these forms and with the reflection, like Mark has said, like let's be intentional, let's start somewhere, and invite everybody to be a part of this conversation. And these are tools to help your chapter be stronger, help you be stronger, help your bands be stronger, and ultimately the fraternity overall. So, well, thanks so much. This has
All right,
been,
thanks.
yeah, this has been another VPSA chat, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.